What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be making a video talking about things you should be looking out for when you're buying a used ATV. Let's get right into it. Now what I have here is two prime examples of a used four-wheeler. Now I'm making this video now before this one becomes not a prime example, because it probably won't always be a prime example. Let's go ahead and get both of these out and we'll talk about it. Alright, so today we're going to go over the things you should be looking for if you're interested in buying a used ATV. Now, I'm going to assume you're not looking at a $1,500 piece of garbage. And I'm going to assume you're looking at a 2, 3, maybe 5-year-old Honda or Yamaha, something along those lines. Now, what this is a 21 Honda Rubicon 520 that has been severely abused. It's not been taken care of at all, very under-maintained, and worked extremely hard. I actually rode this back in North Carolina a lot, so it's seen tons of mud, tons of water, trail riding. It's been rolled, it's been flipped, it's been redlined, it's been ran at high RPM, it's been wrecked, it's been broken rack. I mean, we're gonna go over it in detail and show you what not to buy. And then this is gonna be what you should be looking at. This is a 2024 Yamaha Grizzly 700, and it's only a couple weeks old, so it's a good example. It already represents a lot of used four-wheelers you might be looking at. It has like 250 miles on it already. This one's got 3,500. So you can find a machine with higher mileage that's in good condition. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about it. So let's just say you're walking up to this machine right here. Okay, I went on Marketplace and I found a machine. The guy wants $5,000 for it. No, that's a fair deal, right? Now this thing right here, it wouldn't take you very long to look at this and be like, no. But I'll show you the things to check. Number one thing I would say, obviously, your miles and hours. This Honda currently has 3,451, 387 hours. Now, another thing that's important is take your miles and divide it by the hours, right? I think that's how you do it. Figure out your average mile per hour. That'll tell you a couple different things. One, has it been ridden at high RPM down the road a lot of miles, which sometimes that's better, I think, than a machine that's been ridden slow. Now, if the machine's very clean and it's got a higher hours and low miles, that's fine. It's probably been on a farm its whole life and it hasn't seen a ton of abuse. It's just been ridden around very lightly and taken care of. It can also mean that it's been at a mud park, which isn't common out here in Montana, but back in North Carolina, back east, down south, places like that, a lot of people just ride these in mud. It's all they do. So check your miles and your hours, figure out your average miles per hour, first thing. Look out for chainsaws that might be in your way. Second thing I would check is your oil, right? Super easy on every four-wheeler that I know of. Check it for any. Make sure it's clean. You know, let it drip if it will. This is a Rotella T4 and it's cold, so it'll take a long time to drop. But you can see that oil looks very well. And that's old oil. So this machine's healthy even though it's been extremely abused. Make sure it's not milky. Check for all that. You know, make sure there's no signs of water in that machine, in the oil. Third thing you can do, take your seat off. This is going to be a pain in the butt, just because of my added box. Look in here, right? Okay, look for mud. Every little crack you can. Open every lid. Obviously, there's been mud in every single square inch. That right there, immediately look at that. Okay, red flag, extreme red flag. There's still North Carolina red clay up here. So watch out for, you know, all the mud in every compartment. Check your air box. Make sure it's nice. If there's a bunch of mud or water residue, bad sign it's been swamped. Now this one hasn't been swamped, but it's just been ridden in an absolute abundance of dust. So always look for that. You know, you see I had a clean air filter there, so you know it's been changed fairly recently. You can see all this mud. Just look everywhere. See the mud on the engine? This is not a used four-wheeler you want to buy unless it's cheap, right? Okay, there's a random bolt just sitting there. No idea. I don't even know what that is. You can see there's just mud, I mean, just sitting in here around the electrical. The battery's probably sitting in mud. Open all your compartments. See, there's mud just sitting in there, stained everywhere. It's a bad sign. Fourth thing you want to check, you're going to want to check the painted surfaces. This will tell you a lot more than you think. See how there's tons of rust everywhere? Good sign it's been in water a lot, moisture, bad environment. Now this machine's not completely terrible because it hasn't really spent most of its life in the mud. But look at your diffs. See this one stained in mud. See the grass everywhere? Look for weeds like that. That doesn't just get on there going down a trail. That's obviously swamp riding, mud. Check your CV boots. These are called CV axles. Feel them, feel around them. Okay, make sure there's no grease sticking out anywhere. Go to the front here. This one is a dead giveaway. You can see there that is completely blown out. So if that is the case, just know you're going to have to replace an axle very soon. Pay attention, make sure they all match. If there's different boots, now I'm not talking like this. See, Honda has a stiff boot and a soft boot, inner outer. Look, see if there's one oddball boot, oddball axle. You know, check for things like that, because if the boot has been replaced, it's only a matter of time. You know, dirt gets in there, it's just ruined. If it has a winch, check the condition of the winch. You know, free spool it, let a little bit out. This will tell you a lot. You can hear that thing sounds terrible. Do your free spool, get it out some. Look at that winch line, okay? Look at the condition of the winch. Not in good shape. Look at all these dents. Extremely beat up, right? You want a machine that hasn't been beat on. If you see that, that's obviously a sign there's been nothing but abused. Check your radiator. Look at that. Stained. Red clay. Bad sign. Look at the radiator. It'll tell you a lot. You can see this one's missing a skid plate. Ripped that off yesterday because it's been in the woods. Look at all your plastic. Make sure it's all in good shape. Make sure nothing is broke. Make sure, where is that? Yeah, make sure nothing's broke. It's all tight. Another thing to check, let's go ahead and show you a live action demonstration. Check all of your buttons. You can hear everything actuate, okay? The winch works, good. Check all your headlights. Uh-oh. Did I just turn them off? No, they're on. Okay. That's a whole new problem. I don't even have any effing headlights. I've never seen that before. Huh. There we go. Maybe it's just glitching out. Anyways, check your headlights, see if all the bulbs work, high beam, low beam, the whole 9 yards. Check to make sure this isn't burned out. Watch for things like that. Look at the ball, if it has a ball. If there's no ball, see if it's been used and abused, you can tell. Broken, right? So all the buttons work. If you're looking at an electric shift ATV, check and make sure it shifts smooth. Also listen to your starter. So even with all the water, mud, and abuse that this has seen, that's still working phenomenally well. Don't know why. Couldn't tell you. Check inside your plug. This one's obviously had a lot of moisture and dirt in it. Look at your steering, okay? Hondas have squeaky bushings, so I've done everything in my will to get that to go away. You can, if you want to take a deeper look, now this machine you don't need to because you could tell immediately that it's been abused. You know, when you're looking at this, you're just going to know if it's been abused or not anyways. But you can pull all these plastics off a Honda very easily with your hands. Just pull here, separate. There's a pin here, pin here, pin here, pin on top, and then just work it. You'll get it off pretty easily. Check all your brakes. Make sure they're all tight. This one, with all the abuse. That's the problem when you're buying a Honda as well, is that even after they're abused, everything still works perfect. So just check all your brakes. Make sure they're good. If you can, check the pads. You know, see if they're bad. Check your tires for plugs. any gouges, cuts, anything like that, you know, because they will leak down. And most four-wheeler tires that have had a plug put in them, they're not going to be the same anymore. They're just not going to, they're not going to last. So this is what you want to be looking at, right? Good and clean. Let me go ahead and show you one more thing. Whenever you're buying a used ATV, now I'm not assuming you're buying something like that, but if you are, make sure the plastics are all good and not cracked. Bring a floor jack. Very important. This Harbor Freight floor jack is very good for the money, but just keep in mind that it is horribly heavy. Oh man, I about made me out of breath. So you're gonna want to jack up the machine, check the wheel bearings. Now, if you're looking at a machine like this with some miles, it's not uncommon to see a little bit of play. Now, if there's a little bit, I wouldn't be too concerned, right? Just know you're gonna be fixing your wheel bearings soon. Check this out. So this one's a little bit, it's not terrible. And you'll be able to know, common sense will tell you what a little bit is. This side's a little bit worse, which is crazy because this wheel bearing's already been replaced before at 400 miles. But anyways, that one's actually pretty bad. It needs to be fixed. So if it's a little loose, I wouldn't be scared, you know, just keep an eye on it. Fix them in the future. If it's really bad, like a lot of play, be concerned that the knuckle, hub assembly, whatever you want to call it, could be actually destroyed. Now's a good time to check your steering. Make sure it's tight. This one, surprisingly, is decently tight. All that's original. Pretty tight. Now, I can't show you this without somebody here to help, but you can go like that, get more aggressive. Watch all these bushings, upper, lower control arms. Look at your ball joints. Check all that stuff. Make sure it's all tight. You don't want to have to spend $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on a slightly used Rubicon and have to put another $1,000 fixing everything in the front end. Another thing you can do is there's a brake indicator on these Hondas. You can see those rear pads are good. Grab the rear drive shaft. It's not hard to do because if it's been abused, I mean, and honestly, a Honda, you're pretty safe buying it unless it's been completely submerged underwater. If it's just been abused on the farm, it's still going to be good. I mean, that's tight, and this thing's dragged logs. I'm surprised I never ripped the hitch off. If you want to see videos of this thing getting abused, go on my channel, find some older Honda videos. You will see them. You know, check everything. If they have service records, great. That's even better. If they have service records, I always keep them. Now, I always run way overdue, so not very accurate. Something's going on there. I just noticed that. Okay. So that's a sealed rubber boot right there to protect that. And it looks like mine is split open. So that's going to need fixed, I assume, because I don't want to wear all that out. That looks like a pain in the freaking butt. Anyways, the more you abuse it, the more problems you're going to have. I watched a video from, I can't think of the channel name. I'll put it in the video. But if he sees this, he mentioned this hole that looked like it was out of place. But I can confirm that is a factory hole. That is all original. Another thing, check your manufacturing date. Make sure it's the year that they said it was. It's always on the frame on most four-wheelers. Check the title. Make sure the VINs match. Make sure it's not stolen. You don't want to buy one of these and then have it be stolen. That's not good. So now, I'll show you what you should be looking at. This is more like what I would be looking for in a used four-wheeler. Now, before we get into this one, a couple immediate red flags that you don't see here. If it's got some tires like this, that's no big deal. Okay, these are just 27s on a stock size rim. There's nothing wrong with that. Even something like this. I mean, this is a factory wheel from Yamaha and tire. I wouldn't be concerned. But if that thing's got like 30s or 32s on it, and a big old snorkel coming out right here, radiator relocate, rock lights, wiring, nest, run. That's all I can tell you. Run. Do not buy a snorkel machine. Don't be tempted. Oh, it's a good deal. He said he just snorkeled it, never took it deep. That's a bad idea. Don't buy a four-wheeler with a snorkel. Don't ever do it. Never. Don't ever do it. See, that rack's broke, so obviously it's been abused. But I'd advise against any mud-ridden four-wheelers. I wouldn't steer clear of high mileage and hours. That would not scare me, especially on a Japanese brand like one of these two. These have been proven in my area. I see tons of these Hondas with over 20,000 miles, and I've even seen a couple Grizzlies with over 20,000. So it's not uncommon to have high miles out here, especially in the West, where you have endless amounts of roads to drive on, and these are road legal. So don't worry about high mileage. Getting into the Grizzly here. This is the ideal used machine, right? Let's look at the miles and hours on this. Now, this is about the average miles and hours people do in a couple years for a lot of people. 245 miles. I always click the wrong button. Well, that was the right button. 13.1 hours. Still brand new, right? But that's enough miles and hours where if someone's going to be abusing it, they could still do a lot of damage. So, obviously, plastics get scratched, normal scratches. This four-wheeler has not been abused at all, and you can see these Yamaha black plastics in the back. It's just my ignorance letting my feet hit it, but they clearly scratch very easy. Once again, check all your storage. You can see perfectly clean, no signs of damage. The grips are new. Check all your four-wheel drive, listen to everything. You can hear all that's very strong. Make sure this doesn't have any water moisture in it. Also, another thing, if it's cluster swapped, keep your eyes open. If you see a machine that has 250 miles, and keep an eye on the grips. If the grips are really wore out at 250 miles, more than likely it's had a cluster swap. It's not uncommon either. Very common, actually. So, check everything. You see the floorboards, all that stuff, no plastics broke, all the skid plates are here. You see the radiator's very clean. Let's see if we can see it. Very clean radiator. CV axles are all in very good condition. There's no leaves or grass stuck around the shocks. Now, typical dirt is just going to happen. These go off-road. They're four-wheelers, you know. So, expect some dirt. I mean, that's just part of it. This is a brand new machine, and it's got dirt on it. So, look in here. Make sure all the gears shift. If it's a belt drive, test it. Stop, start a few times. Make sure all your gears work. The linkage works. Make sure the belt's in good condition. Yamaha, that's not really a problem ever. So, if it is, you know it's been abused. It's a little harder to check the oil. A little harder to get that off. But anyways, Yamaha has an even easier dipstick. Pick it up, look at that oil. See, it's way thinner than that Rotella. That's like the factory Yama lube. So check your oil. You see there, that oil looks brand new. Look at the wheels, make sure there's no big rock gouges. Right, make sure you watch out for big scrapes and gashes in the wheels. That'll tell you a lot. You see this hitch receiver has not seen any abuse yet. Paint's coming off the CVs because it's Yamaha, not a Honda. Typical wear there. This is all normal, brand new, right? You see everything looks really clean, really nice. The engine's clean, the driveline's clean. Check for oil leaks. Look everywhere, right? Output shafts, very common on a Honda. Not sure about Yamaha, haven't had it long enough, but like that right there, back there, I don't know if you see that. That output shaft on the back of the engine leaks oil. It's been leaking on this unit since it was almost new, so I never worried about it. It wasn't really leaking like crazy, but these aren't necessarily sealed, but just check them out. Make sure they're not full of just pure, you know, sand and stuff out of a creek. Checking your skid plates, right? Very clean. This is what you want to be buying. A machine that's very clean, in good shape. Pop the seat off. Basically the same steps you did over there. This is what it should look like, right? Again, dirt's going to be normal. It is a four-wheeler. But just look for any excessive amount of dirt. Super clean. So this has been taken care of. That has not. Test drive it. Take it on down the road. Get it up to speed. Do whatever you got to do to get these things through all the gears, right? Belt drive, you know, ride it up, get it through, wind it up, high, low. Check for vibrations. Make sure the steering's not pulling to the right or left very hard. Get on it. Make sure everything sounds normal. You might hear some normal driveline stuff. You know, that's normal. Belt drives and Hondas make clunky noise, whatever. Check it out. Make sure it doesn't, wiggle, pull to the right, left, all that good stuff. Honda, make sure it goes through all the gears. Test it. Let them get warm. Crank them up warm. Crank them up cold. Check. Make sure they're cold when you crank them. Make sure they're not warmed up. Right? Hondas and Yamahas both have temperature sensor, so I'm sure that every other brand does as well. Low, right? That means it's cold. So that's something to look at. This will have an actual temperature. Check it out and make sure these are cold when you crank them up. They haven't been ridden and broke in before you got there. Disgraceful. But you can see the winch still works. Normally keep tension on your winch too. Don't just wind it up like this, but I've only got about 4 feet out, so it's not the end of the world in my opinion. Help if I turn the free spool back off. Duh. Just a quick informational bit. If you want a winch, get a Warren VRX 3,500 pound with synthetic rope. I got one coming for the Grizzly. It's supposed to be there today. Never got a call. The dealer's gonna install it. However, this winch has been on this unit since the beginning of its abuse, and it has taken it all. ITP, very good tires, last forever. These are on here since new. Check your coolant, make sure it's the right, level. Make sure it's all good. Don't hesitate to pop caps off if you have to on different machines. Obviously don't do it when it's hot, but take a look. Inside your radiator is a good idea as well. There's nothing to do that, right? You just get in here and get that cap. Take it off, make sure there's no mud. I'm not doing that, it's too difficult, but if you're gonna want to spend some money, then I suggest taking this cap off. Make sure there's no mud, there's no oil, there's no nothing. I don't know if oil can get in these, but make sure there's no contamination in your coolant, okay? Check all your wiring, make sure it doesn't look like it's been rat nested, been messed with. This all looks pretty good and neat, right? You wanna make sure it's as close to factory as possible. So that right there pretty much sums up the used ATV buying experience. It's pretty easy, but some people just don't know what they're looking at, right? Just because they're meant to go off-road doesn't mean they're meant to be submerged in water and mud up to here, because you don't want to buy a used one that's been treated like that. You want to buy one that's like this, in good shape, unless you're getting a steal of a deal. Even then, it's going to be a nightmare, and you're probably going to have more money in it than you would if you just went and got one in good shape. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you learned anything, comment down below. Leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. I'm going to throw in some clips now of Honda abuse and good stuff like that. So, thanks for watching. Another very good point I forgot to mention. This is in the extras part of the video now. So, your seat. Now, seats are not 50 pounds. Should be relatively light. That will immediately tell you, because I've sunk a couple Hondas, okay? These foam seats, when they get full of water, they're going to be heavy. So, check for that. If the seat weighs 100 pounds, that seat has been underwater. Another good thing to mention, check the price of a brand new one. Don't go pay $12,000 for a Grizzly that's 2 years old. Don't pay $10,000 for a Honda that's 2 years old. Use your head and you'll be all right.